Hey, good afternoon. Hello on TikTok. Hey, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, and you're watching the Asylum Answers show, where I'm going to answer your questions about asylum in the United States. I'm an ex-asylum officer with the government, now I'm an asylum lawyer. In my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. That's what we do all day, every day, is we help immigrants win asylum in the United States. So I want to know what questions you have about asylum. I'm here to answer your questions this afternoon. Before you start leaving those questions in the comments in the chat, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to see where you guys are at. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from today, this Sunday afternoon. Hello. Nice to see you guys. Welcome. Hello over on YouTube. Nanish says hello. We got Yilin Yang. Yilin, have we gotten started on your case yet? That's you, Yilin, right? That we've been going back and forth for a couple of weeks now, right? I recall that I think you had a consultate. Wasn't that you that had the consultation? I hope we're started. I hope you're our client. Ashok, good afternoon, Brian. Hey, good to see you, Ashok. Thanks for being on here. We got QX Muse. Hello. Santosh is from Nepal. Nice. Glad to have you here. Hello, Datu Dabre. I can't quite read that from here. Thank you, Datu Dabre. Very nice. Very kind. Thank you. Cool. All right. Oh, we do have a client for sure. Mauro says, hello, hope you're fine today. I'm your client. I applied after Trump was in office. How fast could be my interview? That's exactly what I'm going to talk about. That's actually the title. If you look at the title of this live, it's about this issue of how fast to expect your interview. So I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, okay? We've got Veronica says, hello, I'm from Naples, Florida. Nice. Thanks for joining, Veronica. I'm glad you're here. Joshua says, hey, Brian, watching from Nashville. Hey, Joshua, good to see you again. Glad you're back. All right. Hello, Kenny Jean 238 on TikTok. Welcome to everyone who just got in here. I'm Brian Manning. We got someone else in Nashville. Skip, 2 Nashvilles. We got me here in Newark. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. My law firm's called Political Asylum Lawyers. We help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. We're based in Texas, but it doesn't really matter because we help people all over. It doesn't matter if you're in Texas or where you are in the U.S. Anywhere in the U.S., we can help you. All right. All right. Look, start leaving your questions. I want to know what questions you have about asylum in the United States. But before I get to your questions, I want to say a couple words about this. Right. Look, so people are surprised when I tell them that if you apply for asylum right now with USCIS, there's actually a pretty good chance that you could get your interview right away. What do I mean by right away? Pretty darn quickly, okay? Honestly, within 3 weeks sometimes of applying. Most people who have applied for asylum in the last few months have gotten their asylum interview between about a month and 3 months after applying. So really, really fast. And this is really shocking to people, right? Because everyone knows, people in your communities, people that you know maybe from your country who've applied for asylum, who applied for asylum here with USCIS many years ago, 4 years ago, 7 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, and they're still waiting, right? So you might be thinking okay, well, if I apply now, surely I'll be waiting for several years at least, right, before I get my interview. But that's not what's happening. Most people are getting their interviews right away. And this isn't just a Trump thing. This was with Biden, the last few months of the Biden administration. Let me explain why. And then I'm going to explain what it means for you and what you need to do as a result of this and how it changes things for asylum seekers now, okay? Asylum officers do interviews for asylum cases, but they also do what's called credible fear interviews. Now, when I was an asylum officer, I think I did thousands of I'm pretty sure at least 1,000 credible fear interviews. These are kind of like mini asylum interviews by telephone with people who come to the southern border. When people come to the southern border and they ask for asylum, part of that process that happens next, normally is a credible fear interview with an asylum officer. So asylum officers, I was an asylum officer with USCIS at the Houston Asylum Office, and the time and the capacity of asylum officers is split between asylum interviews and credible fear interviews. But there's actually internal rules that say that USCIS, they have to prioritize credible fear interviews instead of asylum interviews. That means there's a conflict, right? So what happens is when there's a bunch of credible fear interviews that need to be done, USCIS says, well, sorry, asylum officers, we're going to pull you away from those asylum interviews and we're going to assign you to be doing credible fear interviews for the next few weeks. So basically, credible fear interviews trump asylum interviews in terms of priority. And, for several years ago, it was like it is right now, where most people applying for asylum get their interview right away with USCIS. But then when there started becoming more and more people coming to the southern border seeking asylum, that's when things changed. And for several years, it started to build, the backlog started to grow and grow, where if you applied for asylum, you were not getting your interview right away and you're in the backlog. But that's changed again. And now most people who've applied over the last few months have gotten their asylum interview pretty much right away, within 1 to 3 months of applying. Why? What has changed? Well, fewer people have been coming to the border seeking asylum. This was due to some measures that the Biden administration put in place to discourage people from coming here, and also due to Mexican enforcement of their own immigration space by keeping people from getting into Mexico and getting up to the southern border to their northern border or southern border. So a combination of those two things made it such that there's not many people coming to the border the last few months. Okay. Numbers have dropped drastically. What does that mean? Well, fewer asylum seekers at the border means fewer credible fear interviews need to be done. What does that mean? Well, asylum officers have more time to do affirmative asylum interviews. And so then that means that when you apply for asylum right now, they try to get you scheduled right away. When someone applies, they look at this, nice. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting there. They look at your application and they say, hey, can we get this person scheduled right now? Can we get them scheduled right now? Like, is there a slot to put them into in the next couple months coming up? And if there is, they do that. If there's not, then you might go into this backlog where you could be waiting a very long time. So the good news is that, you will, right now, when there's not many people coming to the southern border, there's a good chance that if you apply for asylum right now, you'll get your interview pretty much right away. So what does that mean for you? You got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to put your case together, both on paper in writing, and then to prepare for your interview and do all this very thoroughly and do it very, very quickly. And I hope you have an asylum lawyer helping you with that, because that's an intensive process. And you got to do it pretty quickly. Now that most interviews are getting scheduled really, really quickly. So you cannot go into this now thinking, oh, you know what? Just like those other people I know, who applied for asylum, they're waiting for several years. Oh, I'm sure I'll be waiting for years too. I'll just apply and not really think about it, not be prepared, not have a lawyer. I'll just worry about it later. I'll deal with it in several years when it's my turn to deal with it in several years. That's not how it is right now. That's not how it is. Okay. You got to be ready to go right away right now. All right. So, I think it's a good thing, right? Because in my opinion, the sooner that you get your asylum interview and your decision, the better your chances for asylum success. Okay. For sure. The better your chances for asylum success, the sooner you get your interview. All right. So yeah, it's kind of stressful. It's kind of intense. It's kind of hectic, but it's good. I think it's good for your chances for asylum success. The fact that interviews are happening so quickly. All right. So I wanted you to be aware of that, because most people aren't. Most people don't know. Oh, if I apply now, it's probably going to get my interview right away. So I want you to know. All right. All right. Having said all that, let's get to your questions. Let me know in the comments in the chat what questions you have about asylum in the United States. Okay. I want to know, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. All right. All right. Let us go to YouTube. Oh, nice. Yelinong says, yeah, I am. Good. Glad to hear it, Yelinong. I'm really glad. Thank you for that. It's an honor and a privilege. Mauricio says, thank you for your answer. You're welcome. My pleasure. We got VCG says, Brian, I have my individual hearing scheduled for 2027 across the border in June 2023. Do I have to fear expedited removal? Maybe. It's possible that the government could terminate the case again. They would have to terminate the case against you in immigration court. and then they could put you in expedited removal proceedings because you've been here for less than 2 years. But they probably won't. I think it's unlikely that will happen, especially since your individual hearing has already been scheduled and you don't have to go back and deal with the ICE attorneys again, like at a master calendar hearing. So I think it's very unlikely that they would do that. Okay. All right. Gogi says, what's the difference between the I-589 statement and declaration at master hearing? Is it possible to amend the I-589 statement before the master hearing? I'm not positive I understand the question. Let me see if I can figure out what you mean by that. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. Well, I get the second part. The second question says, is it possible to amend the I-589 statement? Well, actually, I don't know what you mean by I-589 statement. Do you mean the answers you put on the application form or a separate declaration? Either way, you can amend both of them at any time. Okay. So that should hopefully answer your questions. We got Tariq says hello from Pennsylvania. Nice. Hello, Brian, watching from Auburn, Washington. Interesting. Says Mulemi Isaiah. Nice. Glad to have you here. We got Badru, my friend Badru says hello from Massachusetts. Good to see you. Mihir says, do you take cases for green cards based on asylum? How much does it cost? Yeah, I'm going to answer that question for sure. Let me see here. I'm just checking. I'm checking our exact fee for this so I can tell you. Yeah. So the question here is this: does my law firm take adjustment of status cases? We're talking about the green card application case for people that won asylum and now they're seeking their green card based on their asylee status, the fact that they have asylum. And how much does it cost? Yes, we do. Look, that's really the only case that we take that is not asylum, is green cards for asylees, for people who want asylum. We don't do marriage-based green cards. We don't do investment, employment-based green cards. We don't do any of that stuff. We just do asylum all day, every day, except, yes, we do green cards for asylees, okay? And look, you got to do this carefully because at that stage, they sometimes do try to get you. They try to find inconsistencies in your case and end up not just denying your green card application, but taking away your asylum status and putting you in deportation proceedings as well. It happens. So you got to manage this process carefully. What do we charge for that? At the moment I'm making this video, $3,600 in attorney fees. Again, at the moment I'm making this video, $3,600 in attorney fees, but then there's also government fees you have to pay as well for like the filing fees. Okay. What is the role of an attorney in immigration court? Good question. We got a question that is this. The question is this: what is the role of an asylum lawyer in immigration court? It's huge, actually. So look, your lawyer asks you questions and you answer those questions to tell your story. You don't get to go up there and just talk and just say whatever you want. It's done through question and answer. Your lawyer asks you questions and you answer. So your lawyer needs to structure those questions and guide you through your testimony in a way that gives the judge all the information they need and tells them your story in a powerful, impactful way. Then the lawyer for the government who's trying to deport you asks you questions, and the judge will probably ask you questions too. But your lawyer needs to know when to jump in and when to object to questions. Also, possibly when to object to evidence that the government wants to enter into your case, and to possibly argue about legal points, legal issues that come up during the hearing. About various things potentially, or explaining the law and explaining your case to the judge and making a closing statement as well. Yeah, the lawyer plays a huge role in your case in immigration court. Okay. Agatarog says, hello, Brian. I'm from New York. Nice. You're the best lawyer in USA. That's what I like to hear. Very kind of you. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Glad to have you here. Joshua says, not sure if you talked about this, but what do you think the impact would be for us? Granted, he has fired immigration judges and 400 DHS workers. You mean people that are granted, you mean asylees, or what will the chance be to win asylum? I'm not sure what you mean, Joshua. Can you restate that question? Is the judge approval rate going to go down due to the Trump effect? The question is this: are asylum approval rates about to drop due to Trump? Yeah, I think so. Look, Trump is has already enacted some policies and will enact more that lead to more people being denied than would otherwise be the case. I'm talking about like formal, actual sort of like policies and the way they interpret the laws. In addition, though, to these formal policy changes, there's also just a greater anti-immigrant sentiment that Trump is bringing with him that's going to be pervasive both at the USCIS asylum offices and in immigration court. I think that a lot of these anti-immigrant asylum officers and judges are just going to feel more emboldened and empowered to make ridiculous decisions and deny people even when they shouldn't be doing so. So yeah, I expect denials to rise significantly, but it's not going to be impossible to win. We won last time under Trump. We're winning cases right now. My office is getting asylum approvals right now, and we're going to keep getting them. I firmly believe. I have every confidence. It's not impossible, but you got to put together a strong case and be prepared to present it really well. Okay. All right. We've got Arafat says, I applied for asylum on the 28th of September. Nice. So have you had your interview? October, November, September. So it's been 5 months. But have you had your interview, Arafat? Let us know. How much is the initial payment for a Mandamus lawsuit? Albina says, Albina, if you want our help just with Mandamus, but not with your underlying asylum case, like if you just want us to file the Mandamus lawsuit to get your interview and then we're done, you don't want us to help you try to like win your case, then it's the total Mandamus fee right now at my law firm at the moment that we're doing this live is $6,500. Initial payment for that is $2,500. Initial payment $2,500, and then monthly payments for 12 months in the amount of $333.33 each of those 12 months. All right. If you want us to help you with the rest of your case, though, to actually do our 3-step asylum action plan to help you give you the best possible chance of actually winning your asylum case and represent you in it, then it costs more to do both the Mandamus lawsuit plus the actual asylum representation. Okay. Look, if you want to talk with us, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation. Let me see. Actually, I'm going to look online right now and see if we've got any availability. We're pretty tight probably in terms of spots for the next week. I think there may be a couple coming up, a few spots at the second half of the week. I think we're pretty full first half of the week. There's a lot of demand. A lot of people need help right now. Okay, we've got availability. We've got like one spot open on Wednesday. And then we've got a few spots on Thursday and Friday. So we're booked on Monday and Tuesday. We're almost fully booked on Wednesday. There's a couple spots right now on Thursday and Friday. So if you think you might want to talk with us about possibly getting help in your asylum case, go right now, literally right now. Like you don't need to wait till this live is done or wait till tonight or tomorrow. Go right now to WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com, and schedule this consultation now. If you want to call us instead, you can do that. I think it's easier and better to do it online, but if you want to call, you can call the number 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. For those who just joined, I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer, ex-asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, and my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. All right? We're answering your questions here on the Asylum Answer Show about winning asylum in America. All right? Dhruv DP has a Dude Perfect logo. I like that. What is the BIA due date? My kids like that. I like it too. 30 days. You have 30 days to appeal after you have 30 days from the date on the decision letter from the judge, or after the date on which the judge makes the decision, which you'll find on the letter that says that you're getting a removal order. Okay, 30 days from there is the deadline to appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals, also known as the BIA. Okay. My asylum court this week, it's a court interview. What's the percentage of the judge giving decision right away? It says DJ3LOTV. What do you mean court interview? Are you talking about your asylum interview at USCIS or an immigration hearing in immigration court? Those are two very different things. If it's an immigration court and it's your first hearing, what's called a master hearing or a master calendar hearing, you're not going to get a decision right away. They're not going to give you asylum at that hearing. They're going to schedule a second one where you really fight your case and explain your case, and that's the one where the judge usually makes their decision. Okay. Um, okay, hold on. Let's see. Arafat says, I applied for asylum on 28th of August. Applied for EAD January. So whichever is January. I applied 150 days. Any chance of rejection? No delay from my side. It's been 29 days of application, 179 days. I mean, you're asking. Hold on. Oh, you applied for your EAD on January 25th. You should be fine. It takes about a month, a little over a month usually to get it approved. So we're not quite to 1 month since you applied, Arafat. So you'll probably get it in the next week. Okay, it's usually quite quick this first time. Okay. The Heart of Missouri says, my interview's been rescheduled by USCIS the very last day because of the weather, because of snowstorm. How soon might I have my interview date? Chicago Asylum Office. Good question. The question is this. If you get your interview rescheduled by USCIS, like close to the interview date, they reach out to you, they say, oh, they call you or send you a letter that says, hey, we have to reschedule your interview. So it's canceled, but we're not telling you yet when the new interview is going to be, but don't worry, we'll send you a letter about that later. When's it going to happen? Is it going to be soon? Is it going to have to wait months or years? The good news is usually it's very quick. Usually rescheduled interviews usually get rescheduled and you actually have that interview usually within a month or two after the canceled interview date. And these cancellations happen all the time. And it almost never has anything to do with your actual underlying case. Like it's usually the weather or administrative reasons or the officer's sick, or there can be lots of reasons why an interview gets rescheduled. And it almost certainly has nothing to do with your actual underlying case. It's just random, basically. So you don't have to worry about, oh, is there a problem? Okay, don't worry about it. You can reach out if you wait a few weeks and you haven't gotten the reschedule notice. You can reach out to the asylum office and say, "Hey, my interview." You can send them an email and say, "My interview was canceled. They told me it was going to be rescheduled. I haven't got the reschedule notice yet. Could you please send it? I would welcome the chance to have my interview as soon as possible, if you want it as soon as possible." All right. Nice. Mauricio says, I have my interview before work permit and is approved. Do I get a work permit right away? I know we'll succeed in my case working with you and your team, Mr. Wolf. Nice guy. Yes, that's one of our, he's talking about one of our lawyers, Guy Wolf. You're in great hands with our team, especially and with Guy in particular. He's great. Let's see. So Mauricio, you're asking if my interview is approved, if I have my interview before work permit is approved, do I get my work? Yes, if you get asylum before you reach your 150 days, then yes, you can work legally. This is a good question. Actually, this is important. Let's do it like this because this is an important question, especially since so many people are getting their interviews so quickly right now. The question is this: what happens if you get your asylum interview and you win your case before you ever get a work permit based on your pending case? Do you still need to apply to get a work permit based on a pending asylum case, or what happens? Look, this is relevant because a lot of people, most people who apply right now, who've applied in the last few months, are getting their asylum interviews right away. So you might well get your interview. That's actually a good chance if you apply right now that you get your interview and a decision before you reach those 150 days of asylum eligibility that are required for you to be able to apply for your work permit based on a pending asylum case. Well, when you win asylum before you get there to those 150 days, the good news is you can work legally right away. You don't even need to get a card. But most people want to have a work permit card because employers like to see it, even though you could just use your I-94 that you get that shows that you've been approved for asylum. Most people want to get a card, and so you can apply for a card that's based on your asylee status. It's not based on your pending asylum claim because you don't have one anymore, but you've won asylum. You're an asylee, and you can get a work permit based on that right away after winning asylum. Okay? You're the best I have met so far at this, for real, says Skip. Thanks, Skip. Appreciate it. Very kind of you. Thanks for the kind words. Lillian Molina Segura says, do you attend the first interview with the official with your clients? Like, you mean the asylum interview? We participate in the asylum interview. We represent people at the asylum office for sure. How much do you charge to prepare someone for the interview and attend the interview? Well, look, let me address it. I'm going to look at the actual fee so I can tell you this. But let me address it like this. The question is this: how much does my law firm charge to help someone prepare for the interview and to represent them during their asylum interview with USCIS? I'm going to tell you, but first, let me just say that we want to do more than that. We want to do 3 steps. We want to help you fight the case on paper, putting together what we call our asylum roadmap, which is a filing that we're going to submit where we show the officer everything they need to know about your case before you even set foot in that office, so they know that you meet the requirements for asylum and they plan to give it to you. Okay, we're going to work with you basically to strengthen your case on paper through this asylum roadmap. The second phase is the preparation. Full-scale mock interview, followed by a debrief session a day or 2 later to make sure you're comfortable, confident, ready, prepared to do a great job. And then we're going to represent you during the interview to make sure your rights are protected and the officer understands your case and make sure everything goes smoothly. So to do those 3 steps, our fees at the moment that I'm making this video, that we're doing this live, are, crap. I gotta look them up. It's gonna take me a second. Found them. All right. What are our fees to do this? Our fees to do this, to do those 3 steps that I talked about, are at the moment that I'm making this video, $9,000. But you don't have to pay all that at once. You can get started with an initial payment of $5,000 and then make monthly payments after that for the rest. Okay. It is possible to hire us to do less, to not do the asylum roadmap where we actually fight the case on paper, and instead to just do the preparation and the representation. So then it costs less because we're doing less. We do not offer a service that is just, represent me during my interview. We don't offer that as a standalone service. But we do offer, like I said, the preparation and the representation as a combined package. Or we can do just the preparation. In other words, a mock interview. But I mean, the best thing is to hire us for all 3. Well, the best thing is to hire us before you even apply, to hire us from the very beginning. That's the best. Okay. But if you can't make that happen, we understand, there's lots of reasons why people don't hire a lawyer or they want to change lawyers later. So we get that. So we're still able to help you even if you've already applied. But the sooner the better that we can start the sooner we can start working together, the better for sure. Okay. All right. Let's see what questions we have about winning asylum in the United States. Okay. What do you think about getting an appointment from the Arlington Asylum Office? Says Joe Jael. I like Arlington. I think Arlington's a pretty good asylum office. They have a pretty high approval rate. It's not like the highest, but it's among the highest. So Arlington is good. Is that what you're asking? Or, yeah. All right. Billy says, "Hey Brian, is it hard to pass CFI or RFI if I have Canadian PR, meaning permanent residency, or I'm a protected person in Canada?" Yeah, it's going to be real hard. It's unlikely. It's not impossible, but it's going to be real hard because of what's called firm resettlement. All right. Nanish says, has the success rate of affirmative asylum case in New York increased in recent months? Good question. The question is this: what's up with the approval rates at the New York Asylum Office, and have they maybe increased? Hopefully recently, maybe, sort of, kind of. Look, New York has among the lowest approval rates in the country, the New York Asylum Office, which is weird and surprising because the immigration court there has a high approval rate. But the New York Asylum Office just has this, in my opinion, terrible culture where they see fraud under everything and they deny as much as they possibly can, it seems. No, look, USCIS has not released any public data on this, on approval rates recently, so I don't know. I can't tell you in a data-informed way whether or how approval rates have changed in recent months, but I wouldn't expect they've changed. I wouldn't expect that they've gone up. Approval rates, they've probably gone down. I think they will go down under Trump, but it's not impossible. We're still winning cases, including in New York. You can do it with the proper approach. Okay. New Orleans Asylum Office, yeah, they have a high approval rate. Skip. Uh, okay. Iwara Bayana says, if I have an individual merits hearing scheduled for 2027, can I still get moved to USCIS for earlier interviews if I'm ready? Or are my chances there better? Good question. The question is this. Let's say you've got an individual hearing scheduled in immigration court. You may be wondering, okay, that's in the future. It's like 2 years from now. Could I just switch over to USCIS and maybe get an asylum interview there, kind of move my case forward by going over to USCIS instead? And are the chances for success better at USCIS? The answer is no, you can't do that. You don't get a choice as to where your asylum case is heard. It's the asylum office or it's immigration court, and you don't have a choice in that. It goes by whether you are in deportation proceedings. If you're in deportation proceedings, your case is in immigration court. You will not have it heard at USCIS. If your case is not in deportation proceedings, if you're not in deportation proceedings, then you're going to be with USCIS. Now, it's true you can start at USCIS and then get put in deportation proceedings and go to immigration court, but you don't have any control over where you start out or where your case is heard, okay? You just got to be ready to try to win your case in immigration court. All right. Veronica says, how much would you charge for my son who has a hearing in January 2026? You mean, to represent someone in immigration court, it depends on whether the person's already applied for asylum or not. At the moment that I'm making this video, if the person has not applied for asylum yet, and we're going to help them apply, we charge $14,000. Okay. Which is a little bit less, so they've already applied, but not that much. But listen, we charge like kind of a phased payment plan where you don't have to pay everything at once. You can get started with an initial payment of $5,000. Okay. Those are our fees right now. Those will change. I'm sure they'll probably go up at some point, but those are our fees right now. Okay. Liana says, is there a way to speed up the process to be notified for the asylum office? Good question. The question is this. How can you speed up your stalled affirmative asylum case with USCIS? So if you've been waiting for an asylum interview and you're sick of it, you want to get your interview so you can win your case, move on with your life with confidence about your future, about your security, your safety, and the life that you want to build here in America. Look, people will try to do what's called a humanitarian expedite, an expedite based on humanitarian concerns. Those very rarely work. People will try to get a member of Congress from their district involved to inquire with USCIS. That virtually never works. Same with what's called an ombudsman request, this thing where you ask an office in DHS to look into your case. That virtually never works. You know what does work? Suing the government. If you've been waiting for your asylum interview for multiple years, I think you should talk to an asylum lawyer to consider suing the government, what's called a Mandamus lawsuit or an asylum delay lawsuit. That is a powerful tool to move your stalled case forward. We've been doing it a ton lately at my office, and our clients love it because it works. Okay? If you want to talk with us about this, reach out. WINASYLUM.com. WINASYLUM.com. That's winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule the consultation. Do that now, like right now. Go over to open up a different tab, a different browser, and type in WINASYLUM.com and get on our schedule. If you're on, you're going to see this graphic on my screen now on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. You're not seeing it on TikTok. It looks like this. When you go on your mobile to schedule an appointment with us, it looks like that. It's super easy. It'll take you like less than 2 minutes to get set up. So go do it right now. Go to WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com, and get set up with the consultation. Okay. By the way, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube is where I've got all my best stuff. Okay. If you really want to see some trainings that might help you win your case, I've got a bunch of detailed tutorials and trainings on YouTube. Okay. Go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm, but it's also the name of our YouTube channel, Political Asylum Lawyers on YouTube. And then go to the playlist and look for like the full length trainings. Okay. Berenji says, is it a different process in filing asylum if we jump the 1 year deadline? You mean if you're after 1 year? Good question. The question is this. Is the process for applying for asylum different if you've already been here for more than 1 year. So this is getting at the 1 year filing deadline, right? Because remember, there's a rule that says you normally need to apply for asylum during your first year in the United States. If you don't, you won't get asylum unless you establish that you qualify for one of the two categories of exceptions to the 1 year filing deadline, which is tricky. It's complicated. That law is nuanced. It's hard to do that. It's hard to overcome this barrier, but it's not impossible. We do hope people do it all the time. But look, to answer the question, no, you don't. You still apply the same. If you're in deportation proceedings, you apply with the immigration court. If you're not, you apply with USCIS. The process, the mechanism is all the same. But there is a question about that on the asylum application form. And you have to sort of explain why you didn't file timely. Now, look, you don't have to go into a bunch of detail on that. You can do that. Hopefully your asylum lawyer will do that later in a legal brief, and you will address it in your declaration that you will develop with your asylum lawyer. But you do need to address it at least to some extent in your application form. Okay. Monty says, we finally got our individual hearing after our master's. The merits hearing's in 3 months. DHS lawyers said we need to redo fingerprints. How long does setting up an appointment take? It depends. You need to make that request immediately, like send it in tomorrow, okay? Because it takes several months in a lot of cases. And honestly, you need to like follow up on it too, like right away after you send it in. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get this done in time, but you need to be able to show that you asked right away, okay? Monty, you've got 3 months. If you're looking for help to try to give yourself the best possible chance to win your case, we would have enough time to help you. 3 months is enough time for us to help someone before an individual hearing. So if you want to talk with us, you know where to go. WINASYLUM.com. That URL is winasylum.com. Okay. Rachel says, I won asylum in 2017, applied for AOS in 2020, had the interview in June 2024, and still waiting on a decision. Any suggestions? Yeah, I have a suggestion. Sue the government. The question is this. What should you do if you applied for asylum and you won your case? Congratulations. And then you apply for adjustment of status, your green card, and you wait years, several years to get your interview, and you have an interview for that, and you do the interview, and then you wait like another year after the interview and you still haven't gotten a decision, such that you applied for your green card like 4 or 5 years ago. What should you do? You should sue the government through a Mandamus lawsuit. This is the lawsuit. Look, I talk about this all the time, right? But it's usually in the context of suing the government to get your interview. Well, guess what? You can also use it to force a decision. The government has duty to act in a responsible, in a reasonable time frame, not just to give you an interview, but to actually adjudicate your case, to make a decision. So yeah, you're in a good position to force them to give you your decision on this case. And I recommend that you try to move this forward. I think you should talk to an asylum lawyer right away about doing this. Okay. All right. Nice. Oh, this is an interesting question. And Monique says, hi, Brian, given your experience on YouTube, says, hey, given your experience both as an asylum officer and lawyer, is the decision on an asylum case made before the interview or solely based on the interview? Good question. That's an interesting question. It's an important one. The question is this. Does an asylum officer pretty much make up their mind before your interview? Like, do they look at your documents and say, you know what? Yes, I'm giving asylum to this person, or nope, no way. Or do they really listen to what you have to say at the interview and sort of try to keep an open mind and really explore the case fully, including through your interview, before making a decision? Well, look, asylum officers, just like all humans, come at things with their own biases and their own ways of doing things. And some of them, will make up their minds pretty quickly and not give you much of a chance to change it. But I'll say this, the interview matters more than the documents. So the interview matters more than the documents, but you can put yourself in a really good position and get a huge advantage by doing the documents properly. Your application and your supporting materials, your declaration, your evidence, and the legal brief that I hope you have an asylum lawyer who is writing a legal brief. You can do that and really go a long way towards helping yourself and put yourself in a position for success in the interview. Okay? So, I mean, look. Yeah, that's it. Okay? Nice. Nice. You're welcome, Mauro. I think I said Mauricio earlier, didn't I? Sorry if I said that. I meant Mauro. Okay, cool. I have a pending asylum application with USCIS, then I represent myself in ICE for yearly report. They made me sign some paper that says I'm released under own recognizance, and also said, Jafar, I didn't see, did you finish that thought somewhere? I'm not seeing it. Gogi says, how much will you charge if my master's in November 2025? It doesn't matter when it is. We charge the same thing no matter when your master is. At the moment that we're doing this live show, it's $14,000 if you have not already applied for asylum. It's $13,000 if you have, for defensive cases in immigration court. But there's a payment plan available. You don't have to pay all that at once. Okay. All right, good question. Tassawar says, hello, sir. Is it possible to win asylum if your case is not against the government, but against private people group like a family feud, but case is genuine and is a lot of casualties? I'm sorry to hear that if that's what you're going through. The question is, the question is this. Can you get asylum if the people that you fear are not the government in your country, but rather private actors, meaning people who don't work for or have anything to do with the government? Yeah, you can. Look, it's a little bit harder. When the government is the persecutor, you don't have to go a step further. When it's private actors who are not from the government, you have to show that the government is unable or unwilling to protect you, basically. You can do this by showing, look, we went to the government and they said, sorry, we can't help you. We don't want to help you, or too bad, deal with it on your own, or actually you deserve it. Those things happen sometimes. That's one way. You can actually, though, win even if you didn't go to the government at all sometimes, if you can use country conditions information to show that reporting, doing this, seeking help would have been futile because the government is known to be just like corrupt or to not help people in this position or to support the other side. So it is possible to win when the government is not the persecutor, but it's harder because of that step and another step you have to do or prove around this issue of internal relocation. So it's harder, but it's not impossible. Okay. Well, the second part of your question, a family feud. Well, that's tricky. It depends on what the motive is for the wanting to harm you. That can, when there's a feud between families, it can be a little bit tricky to try to convince the asylum officer that the persecution is motivated by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law: your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or something called membership in a particular social group. You should definitely, Tassawar, if you haven't talked with an asylum lawyer, I strongly recommend that you do, because it sounds like your case has a lot of things that you really need a lawyer to help you work through. It sounds like from what you said in that question. Okay. Do you get, Steph Garcia says, do you get an asylum answer at the time of the interview? Can you be detained there? Good question. The question is this: are you going to get your decision in your asylum case at your asylum interview at a USCIS asylum office? And second question, could you be detained there? The first question, will you get your decision on the day of your interview? No, you won't. At the end of the interview, they'll tell you how you're going to get it. They'll tell you one of two things: either come back in person in 2 weeks to this office, 2 weeks after the interview, and we'll give you the letter that is your decision, like in person on paper. Or they will tell you, don't come back. Instead, we're going to mail it to you. We're going to send it to you in the mail. It'll be at least 2 weeks in that scenario. Often it's much longer. Often it's way, way, way longer. If it takes too long, you can actually sue in some cases to force them to finally make a decision on your case. If you applied for asylum originally, applied like several years ago, okay? Do you have to worry about being detained at the asylum office? The chances of that happening are very low, unless you have like a criminal criminal history, especially here in the United States. Apart from that, I don't think you need to worry about it. Okay. Nice. Zaid, thank you for being with us on TikTok. I appreciate that. Good to see you over there. User says, can you sue USCIS if the I-485 is 6 months outside of normal processing time? Yeah, I think so. I think you're in a pretty good position to do it then. That's when we'll do it. Yeah. If you're there, we should talk. All right. Go to winasylum.com so we can talk. Mario says, is permanent residency in Ukraine a bar to asylum? If you're from another country and you were in Ukraine after you left your country before coming to the U.S. and you had permanent residency there, then it's a problem. Yeah, it's a challenge. The firm resettlement bar would be implicated, but there are some exceptions to it. And given the context in Ukraine, you might be able to get around it. And just based on your specific circumstances, we'll tell you whether we think that you can get around the firm resettlement bar, whether you might qualify for an exception. Okay. Albina says, does the decision to grant asylum depend on the evidence submitted or on the interview? Good question. The question is this. Does the decision about whether to give you asylum after your interview at USCIS, does it really depend on what you say at your interview or more so on the evidence that you present in support of your case? Look, first let me say you want to take every opportunity to give yourself the best possible chance of winning your case. And yes, evidence can help with this. Presenting the case on paper in a clear, consistent way, in a powerful way, can go a long way towards really helping your chances for success. I hope that you have an asylum lawyer who's going to help you. We do this through what we call an asylum roadmap, where we work with you to present a declaration, evidence, and we write a legal brief where we put it all together, connect the dots, make the legal arguments, and cite to, and then use behind it country conditions information. But look, at the end of the day, the most important thing is what you say at the interview. We do a mock interview, full-scale mock interview to help our clients prepare, and then a debrief session a few days after to make sure that you go into the real interview with confidence, comfortable, prepared, ready to do a great job on the day of your interview. Okay. Fadi says, I had an asylum interview at the St. Louis, Missouri a week ago. Any idea when I'll get the decision and what's the approval rate like there? The approval rate is pretty high because it's Chicago. It's the Chicago Asylum Office that covers Missouri. Like, the officer that interviewed you actually works at the Chicago Asylum Office, and they traveled to St. Louis on what's called a circuit ride to interview you there. And the Chicago Asylum Office has a pretty high approval rate. It's not as high as like in California, but it's pretty high. It's a pretty good office. So there's a decent chance. When will you get your decision? Don't know. It'll probably be at least a few weeks. All right. Ian Realm says, I have an interview this week in the Twin Cities. What should I focus on? What's the approval rate here? If you had to guess for Ethiopian case with a pro bono lawyer, this is his first asylum case. Look, let me address it like this. So the question is this. So your asylum interview is coming up really soon. What should you do to prepare? Well, I hope you have an asylum lawyer who is going to help you prepare and going to do a full-scale mock interview with you, a practice interview from beginning to end. We do that with our clients. Then we do a follow-up debrief session where we go through everything and give them feedback on how they did and how they could just try to be a bit clearer and more impactful in the way they tell their story. But look, if you don't have that, go to my YouTube channel. Go to the Political Asylum Lawyers YouTube channel. Look for the playlists that say asylum interview, or there's two of them. One says asylum interview, one says full-length asylum trainings. There, you're going to find some really detailed tutorials, some trainings that I put together. Some of them are like 2 or 3 hours long, like they're really detailed. all about the asylum interview so that you'll know what to expect. I've got one about questions. Like I've got I think 300 or 400 questions that I go through that there's a good chance you're going to get that are questions that come up a lot. So look, devour my YouTube channel. I think that's the best way to prepare for your asylum interview. And I've got a training that's specifically about how to prepare for your asylum interview, where I give some more detailed steps that you can take beyond just watching YouTube videos. Okay. But look, you said it's this week. We don't have time to help you with a mock interview then. But if you had 2 weeks before your interview, then I would say call us, do a consultation so we can talk and maybe do it, and then we could schedule a mock interview. But if your interview is this week, we don't have time, unfortunately. Steph Garcia said the same thing. Had the same question. Basically, any tips on the upcoming asylum interview? Should letters of recommendation be brought to the interview? Steph, go to my YouTube channel. Steph, I don't know if you speak, just the last name, just guessing. If you speak Spanish, we've got a YouTube channel in Spanish as well called Asilo Aprobado en Español. And I've got playlists with lots of detailed training videos. But Steph, look, if you've got at least a couple weeks before your interview, we would still have time to do a mock interview with you, the practice interview from beginning to end. And that begs the question. The question is this. So why is doing a mock interview, a practice interview, so important to asylum cases? Look, our clients tell us routinely that this aspect of our representation, of our work with the client, the mock interview, was the most important thing by far. That it was the thing that helped them the most, the key to their success in winning their asylum case. Because look, we're going to do everything that you'll experience on the day of the real interview from beginning to end. And then we do a debrief session a couple days later where we give you feedback and all of our best tips, but we also give you feedback on what you could do better, how you could tell your story in a more impactful way. And the real interview is hard. It's harder than you expect. The officer doesn't let you just sort of tell your story. It's much harder than that. And people get overwhelmed when they face that because they don't know what to expect. With our asylum mock interview, you know what to expect. You know what kind of questions you're going to get. You know what it feels like to be in this position. You know what the different procedures are for the day. All this is going to give you confidence. You're going to go into the real interview much more comfortable, prepared, and ready to do a great job at that real and difficult asylum interview. Okay? This our mock interview, I think, is the best thing that we do to help people win asylum. Okay. So look, if you want to talk with us about scheduling a practice interview, a mock interview before your interview with USCIS, please go to winasylum.com and schedule that. WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can talk about your case and tell you more about the mock interview and whether we think we're in a position to help you. Because look, if we think that you have no chance for success, we're not going to take your case. We're not going to represent you. We won't even offer you a mock interview if we think you have no chance for success. I don't want to take thousands of dollars from you if I think that we can't help you at all. If I think there's virtually nothing to be done to help you, we won't take your money. So we want to talk through the situation with you in a consultation first to make sure we think we're in a position to add value to your case. Okay. Muhammad says the price goes up but never down. Yeah, such is life. You're right. That's life, right? Sulab says is affirmative asylum still being approved at the usual rate, or has the approval rate been plummeting recently? Good question. The question is this: are affirmative asylum cases with USCIS still being approved at about the same rate, or have those rates already dropped because of Trump? Look, I haven't seen them drop yet. Anecdotally, just with us, we continue to win cases. But look, I do think over time, I think that the approval rates are going to go down because of Trump, both because of formal policies that he's putting in place, but also because of just the general anti-immigrant atmosphere and sentiment that he's bringing and cultivating both the asylum offices and an immigration court. But it's not going to be impossible. Even though approval rates are going to go down, we're going to keep winning cases, okay? But you got to put together a better case than ever. You got to work harder than ever to put together a great case. Also, look, if your case has been pending for several years, I recommend that you consider suing the government to force your interview now. Get your interview now before these negative effects can really be as pronounced as they're probably going to be in 3 or 4 years. I think it's going to be much harder to win asylum. Okay, I'd rather have my interview now. All right. once you're granted asylum, do you need to apply for a green card, or is it given, do you get it like automatically? Good question. The question is this. So when you win asylum, do you have to actually apply to get your green card, or is it something that just sort of gets done automatically for you? The answer is, yeah, you have to apply. So you can apply right after you win asylum. You can't actually get it, like they can't approve your application until you've been in the US for 1 year after having won asylum. But I think it's a good idea to apply right away after winning asylum, because then you get in the queue for consideration. You get in the line to have your application processed, because it's taking a long time. It's taking, last I checked, like 18 months or something to process this kind of application, the green card application based on asylum. So you can apply now, right after you win asylum. And then by the time they finally pick up your application and look at it, 12, 15, 18 months from now, you will have the physical presence that you need that 1 year after winning asylum in order to be granted your green card. Okay, you have to actually apply. Yeah. All right. Ideal Fitness says, can we still apply for work after applying for asylum, waiting for 150 days before getting work permit? You can still apply at 150 days. Yes. After 150 days after applying for asylum, you're eligible to apply for your work permit based on your pending asylum case. Yes. Smile UFO says, I'm a client in Chicago. Nice. Glad to see a client here. Thank you for being on. And I've submitted my documents. How long until I get an interview for my recent filing? Can I move to San Francisco before, or should I wait until my biometrics? You should wait. Let me address it like this. The question is this. After you apply for asylum, is it okay to go ahead and move, or is there any reason that you should hold off for a while? Yeah, there's a reason to hold off. Look, if you move before you reach 180 days after having applied for asylum, then almost certainly your EAD clock will be frozen when you notify USCIS about your move, which you need to do. That's it's required. So most people don't want to have their EAD clock frozen and stopped, because it means you won't get your work permit as soon as you otherwise would had you not moved. So my recommendation normally is don't move until you reach 181 days post asylum application. Okay. And then you can move without having to worry about it affecting your ability to get the work permit on time. Okay. Miss Fiend says, Worku says, I applied for asylum last September. Do you think I may receive an interview schedule soon? No, probably not. If it's been 5 months and you haven't gotten it yet, I don't think you're going to get it in the near future, unfortunately. It's possible, but I think you're probably one of those people that slid into the backlog. I think most people who applied in the last 6 or 8 months really have gotten their interviews pretty much right away. No, not 6 or 8 months, probably since August. But if you didn't, then for certain reasons, you can just sort of get put in the backlog. And if that happens, you're probably, let me rephrase and put it like this. If you've applied for asylum in the last 6 months and you didn't get your interview notice, like within 3 or 4 months of applying, then you're probably not going to get it for a very long time. Honestly, it's probably going to be years. Okay. Jafar says, can an ICE agent remove you from affirmative asylum and put you in deportation processes? Yes. Does it happen? Very rarely. I don't think you need to worry about it. Okay. Nice. Sophia says, Brian, we've hired your services. Thank you. Thank you for putting your faith in us. That means a lot to us. We take it really, really seriously. It's an honor and a privilege to represent you, Sophia, and everyone else on here who are our clients. So thank you. She says, once my interview date at USCIS arrives and you apply for a work permit for me, would my spouse also get a work permit? Yeah, Sophia, as long as your spouse is included in the case as a dependent in the case, as soon as you reach 150 days, your spouse also can apply for a work permit at the same time that you can. Okay? So, yeah. Yeah. Good news, right? She says, Anuj is great, by the way. Nice. Thank you. I'll tell him you said that. Very kind of you. Thank you for talking about my team. My team is great. You know what? That actually raises a question, and the question is this: so, do I personally work on our clients' asylum cases? Like, am I going to be the guy representing you when it's time for your asylum interview at USCIS and going to be the one preparing you for it? Almost certainly not. Look, I don't actively handle that many cases these days. Okay, I think that my colleagues, the attorneys at my law firm, are better than me when it comes to that. When it comes to actually preparing people and then representing them during their asylum interview or court hearing, the lawyers at my law firm are better than me at that. Look, I like to think that I'm the best still at the firm when it comes to like the strategy and sort of like how we handle things as a law firm to put people in a great position for success. But when it comes to actually like the day of needing to advocate for you, I don't think I'm that good at that. I think I purposefully hired lawyers that I think are better than me at that, so we would have those great skills. So look, you're in great hands with my team is the point. Okay. Why do I have to pass another interview for a green card after being granted asylum? Says Excited Basketball. They don't always do interviews for the green card based on asylum. When you're applying for a green card based on asylum, they don't always do interviews, but they sometimes do, and they probably will do more of them under Trump just to make sure you qualify. And it's another opportunity for them to try to pick apart your case and try to get you to say things that look like inconsistencies, so they'll have an excuse to deny you and possibly even try to take away your asylum status and try to deport you. That's what I think. We've got a question on YouTube that says, can someone take a witness at interview with USCIS, and is a lawyer allowed to speak on behalf of asylum seeker? Good question. The question is this: can you bring witnesses to testify for you in your case during your asylum interview with USCIS? And then also, what about lawyers? Can your lawyer sort of talk and argue for you? Well, look, witnesses, you technically can bring a witness or witnesses, but it's very rare. It's so rare that an asylum officer might not even know that you're allowed to. But what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? I don't encourage it at the asylum office. It makes sense in immigration court. At the asylum office, it's just so rare that I think it would weird the asylum officer out. I don't recommend it at the asylum office. The second question is, was what is the lawyer? Can the lawyer talk? Well, like, they can't tell your story for you, but they can participate to a certain extent. And definitely at the end of the interview, they get a chance to say a few words to sort of make a closing argument and try to convince the officer about things that I think they need to be convinced about. We make sure your rights are protected. We make sure there's no miscommunications. We make sure things go smoothly. And sometimes we are able to sort of dialogue with the officer a little bit. Okay. But look, having a lawyer present makes a huge difference, I think. And that's the question, right? The question is this: does having a lawyer at your USCIS asylum interview actually help you? And look, as a former asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, I can tell you that I think, it makes a big difference. Look, when there's a lawyer involved, asylum officers just tend to behave a bit more professionally. They act better and they handle the case better. I think they give proper attention to the case. Basically, they're on their best behavior when a lawyer is participating and involved in the interview. Look, we jump at the end of the interview. The lawyer gets to say a few words to sort of make a closing statement and drive home the most important points, which we think we can do in an impactful, powerful way. But also throughout the interview, we're listening for potential miscommunications, things that can look like a inconsistency if we don't jump in and make sure they get corrected. We are just helping to facilitate certain aspects of the interview. Sometimes we're able to dialogue a little bit with the officer and explain things and clarify things to some extent. So having a lawyer with you, I think, makes a huge difference. Okay. Daniel asks, how long is the wait for an asylum interview at USCIS for new applicants? For most people right now, it's like a month, 1 to 3 months. It's very fast right now for most new applicants. You got to be ready to go. Okay. Oh, wow. AYP says, I'm in my parents' asylum application as a dependent since I was a child when they applied. It's been 7 years and we've had no interview. As I turn 21, I don't know my future in America. Question is this. So what happens when you turn 21? You're a dependent in your parents' asylum claim. which has been pending for a long time, like 7 years. Do you age out? Like, do you have to worry about what happens when you turn 21 because your family still hasn't had the interview yet? The good news is you do not age out when you turn 21. You're protected under this thing called the Child Status Protection Act, which basically freezes your age as of the time that you applied, that your parents applied, one of your parents applied. So you don't have to worry about turning 21. What can you do though? Look, if your family's been waiting 7 years, you should seriously consider talking to an asylum lawyer. I think you should do it right away to talk about suing the government in an asylum delay lawsuit. You're in a strong position to have success. I think in most cases, the sooner you get your interview, the better your chances for success. And this is a very powerful tool, this Mandamus lawsuit. We use it all the time. Our clients love it because it works. All right. We should talk. If you want to talk with us, you can set that up at winasylum.com. That's WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. We want to talk with you. We want to get to know you and your goals, your immigration goals, your priorities, and your case. And we want to see what's going on, what's happened, why you're worried about going back to your country, get to know your case, and tell you whether we think we can support you. And if we think we can support you, we're going to tell you how. We're going to tell you exactly like what the concrete steps will be that we're going to take to give you the best possible chance of winning your case, of securing your future in America through asylum. All right. Where was Camilla in Seattle says, my husband and I just won our asylum case thanks to your help. Thank you for coming on and saying that. That makes my day to see that, Camilla. Camilla, if you are who I think you are, you never know for sure with these YouTube handles, right? If you are who I think you are, was this one that we just won like I think last week after a Mandamus lawsuit, after we sued the government to force the interview, and then you won? And your husband was the principal applicant. If you are who I think you are, you don't have to tell us all that. You don't have to reveal those kind of details if you don't want, but if you want, you can. Yeah. Like I said, guys, I think it's going to get harder and harder to win under Trump, but we're still winning. We're still winning cases. We won cases last time under Trump. We're winning them right now. We're going to keep winning them. All right. Don't give up. There's a lot of bad news out there. I mean, look, I put out a lot of on our social media channels. I'm posting bad news every day for immigrants, right? Because I do think that we need to know what we're up against. I want you to be informed about what's going on out there. But look, I don't want you to, I want to remind you that there is hope, okay? Amidst all of the tough news for immigrants, there is hope, okay? We've been winning cases. We're going to keep winning cases, okay? Oh, that's interesting. Steph says, I saw there's been an increase in interview scheduling as bait for deportation. Is this fear-mongering? Have you any insight? I've never heard that. That's really interesting. No, it's fear-mongering. Interviews have been, the uptick in interviews, the people getting their interviews real fast and doing a bunch of interviews at USCIS is not new. It preceded Trump by several months. And it's just because, as I explained at the very top of this live, there's fewer people coming to the southern border over the last 6 months or so, which means fewer credible fear interviews, which means asylum officers have more time and are reallocated back to do normal asylum interviews. That's why they're doing so many asylum interviews. Now you know. All right, that's it for today, guys. I'm Brian Manning. It's an honor to support you in your asylum journey. Thank you for being with us. I love engaging and talking with the immigrant community here, with the asylum seeker community. If you want to talk with us, you can schedule a consultation. We'd love to hear from you at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, to schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals so we can talk and see if we think we might be able to help you. All right? winasylum.com. Have a great rest, last few hours of your weekend, and we'll see you on the next live. Until then, I'm Brian Manning. It's a pleasure to support you in your asylum journey. Have a good one, guys.